All right, well, while we're waiting for a few people, we'll do our introduction. So, hi, I'm Kirsten Fuller. I'm a prevention specialist with Department of Human Services. And that is Christine Marchetti, who can tell us a little bit about herself. However, she is a therapist here, and she's also our presenter today, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So, we're pleased to be with you today into the future. We are from the Department of Human Services and Child and Family Service Division. A team of us are putting together a series of short workshops for parents to provide some tips, strategies, skills, and create connections with parents. This is tough for all of us, so together we can get through it. Our hope is that this is useful to you. We are making this short and sweet. It's only 20 minutes of content, and after that, about 10 minutes or so, or even more if needed, for Q&A. We remain in this session as long as people wish to have further discussion. Please let us know at this time a little bit about yourself. If you could just indicate your zip code, the number of kids you have, and the school they attend. We will not be using this information or sharing it, but it's just good to know a sense of who we are reaching out to and who we need to reach out to if they're not in this session. This is another offering in our series on parent and community support. Today's session will be on self-care. Please visit our website, www.apcyf.org, for other sessions we have done. This Thursday, we will continue a series on managing behavior, with a few look at incentives. If you have other ideas for topics, please share that on your chat over to your left as well. At the top, you should be able to see Attendee Chat and be able to put that information in there so we can give you the support that works for you. All right, so I introduced myself. I'm going to let Christine introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. So the attendee chat is up to the left, and throughout the presentation, if you want to ask any questions or put any things that you've been doing that have been helpful that you want to share with people, please feel free to add those in on that chat. Also, if you have questions that you feel like can wait to the end, feel free to put, parking lot in front of them so that we know that that's a question that we can answer at the end. If you feel like it's super relevant to the slide and you really want to answer in that moment, don't put parking lot and I will answer it as they come through.
Yes, and I will let Christine know that she has a question. At the end, we invite people to give us a rating so we know how we're doing. And we especially just appreciate you and any other additional comments and feedback on ways to improve our session today.
Absolutely. Okay, so with that, we're going to get started. And I know some of these slides might be difficult to read on the split screen that we have going on. The slides will be posted on that same website with this talk as well, so you can always go back and reference them. I'm not going to read every single thing on each slide, but I will kind of sum them all up. This is the first image is just a slide that I feel like is perfect for how we are right now. We are all adapting to this completely new and different environment and situation with new rules and guidelines. And as humans, it takes us a little bit to kind of get our footing. So right now, while we're figuring this out, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to feel confused. It's okay to feel lonely. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to not be okay. That's the general message. If you take anything from today, is that it's okay to not be okay. We just want to give you some skills in those moments so that a not okay hour doesn't turn into a day and into a week. And so you're able to eventually find your footing, find your new groove, feel balanced as we move forward and we get through this extended kind of period. While we're kind of working on that, one of the things to keep thinking of and keep in mind is that nobody's pain is invalid. So if you're struggling, if you're feeling overwhelmed and a thought creeps into your head or someone else says it to you of, well, people have it worse, that might be true, but that doesn't mean what you're going through is insignificant. It means that everybody has these struggles and we're all going through it in different ways. The other thing to keep in mind is that social media can be really misleading. There's a lot of posts and things going on about living your best life, and you're going to learn all these new skills, and you're going to be super productive, and you're going to do all these workout videos, and create all these Pinterest activities for your kids. And if that is not what's going on in your household, that's okay. And I would probably venture a guess that that's not even going on in the households that are posting that, but it might be a way that they're coping. So that's just something else to keep in mind. We're not comparing ourselves to anyone else or how anyone else is going through this. Each person is unique, and each person is going to adapt in different ways. So right now we've got a period of prolonged stress, prolonged uncertainty. That's a trauma. I could do a completely other talk on how the body responds to trauma, what stress and hormones are produced, and how our body filters that out, how long that takes. That's not what this talk is. But it's important to remember that this is a trauma that we are kind of going through right now, and it takes time because it's an extended trauma to adapt to that. People can feel unmotivated, less productive, kind of out of sorts, not grounded, kind of untethered, and that's normal. In this time period while we're going through this, you might have had a really great routine that was working for you. You took the kids to school, they did an after school activity, you went to work, you cooked dinner, you had a whole workout routine. Maybe that's what your life looked like before this, and now you're really struggling to figure out how you're going to adapt your routine into this. And that's absolutely normal. The other thing to keep in mind is that everybody's responding to this differently. Everybody responds to stress differently. Everybody expresses their emotions differently. And that might look like your sister snaps at you on a FaceTime call. It might look like you are having more arguments with your partner. It might look like something small happens and you react to it in a way that you wouldn't normally. Kind of keeping an eye on how you're reacting and responding to things, and then how the people in your life are also responding to those things. Cut everybody some slack. Cut yourself some slack. Cut your kids some slack. If they don't need to put pants on today, maybe they just don't need to put pants on today. And it might take a while of kind of trying a couple different things to figure out your new rhythm and your new routine that works for you and that works for your family. And some stuff you try might not work, and that's okay. Go on and try another thing. The big part is that you're going to keep trying different things. This one is super important. Sleep is a massive contributor to our emotions. There's a couple different images that we have today that kind of show how sleep can impact our bodies and can impact our emotions. One of the first things that gets impacted by stress is sleep. So that then contributes and kind of compounds onto an unhealthy cycle of sleep. So you're not sleeping, you're then more irritable, then you're not able to, appropriately or find healthy ways to express those emotions. And so then you're also not sleeping more, and it just keeps going and going and going. And right now, everybody has a low level and then at times a high level of background anxiety, background stress, background sadness that's going on. And that alone, it could be subconscious, but that alone is exhausting. So there might be things where you're like, why do I feel so tired every day? You're not doing all of the same things you used to do, but your body is emotionally processing this, and that is exhausting. So right now we'll take some time to talk about healthy sleep cycles and things that you can do. There's also a lot of great resources online, and at the end of this slideshow, we have some resources you can use as well. Again, some of these may work well for you, some of them may not. Take what you think is going to help. So one of the things that's very common that almost all our sleep studies tell us is try not to use electronics about 30 to 45 minutes before you're trying to go to sleep. That I think is a really hard habit to break. A lot of us go to sleep with our phones, and that's the last thing we do as we're falling asleep is we're reading or we're looking or we're catching up with people. So it's easier said than done. but that's one of the big ones. Using that blue light filter on our phones and our computers is also helpful. Finding a routine that might be stretching, it might be a yoga, it might be a guided meditation before bed, some sleepy time tea, finding different types of routines that you can work into helping you fall asleep. So again, feel free to put in the chat box in the comments, maybe some things that you're doing that have helped, or some things that you've tried that didn't help. Okay, so this one is super hard to read. I 100% get that, so I'm actually gonna try and go through each one of these. So starting with the kind of orange one near the top, it's talking about setting a list for the day, a little bit of a to-do list, an agenda, and being able to write it all out. And it doesn't have to be set in stone. Everything is flexible, but you want to have your, main goals for the day on there. And then next to it, you want to put how long you think each task is going to take. And then moving into that, you want to give yourself some buffer time in between each of those tasks so that you're not going from a Zoom meeting with your boss to a Zoom meeting with your kid's teacher to writing a report, to making lunch. That's a lot to do back to back to back. So if you can put in 5 minutes in between each of those, 15 minutes in between one, to give yourself a little break, to stretch, to go walk outside, to go to the bathroom, give yourself some buffer time. Don't get bogged down in the details about everything. If you can turn those key tasks into a habit, so if you're always checking your emails at 8 a.m., noon, and 4:30, or you're always checking voicemails or responding to certain tasks, and you can make it as much a routine as possible, that can give you more a sense of some structure, a little bit more of a sense of control, and it becomes more of a habit. We also want to focus on one task at a time. So multitasking when we're maybe not getting a lot of sleep, we're stressed, we're going under different levels of emotions, highs and lows. Multitasking in those circumstances is super difficult. So the more we can do one major task at a time, the better that will help. We also obviously have exercising and eating healthy. That is taken with a huge grain of salt right now because we can't maybe go to a gym and you can go for a walk, but you're trying to keep social distancing. Getting groceries can be kind of hard. And maybe finding veggies and things like that is a little difficult right now. So being able to do that with what you can is, that's okay. I think somebody doesn't have it on mute, but so whatever you can do, if you can find a YouTube video, a workout class, if you can do a Zoom session with a friend, that would be great. And don't make that a failure if you don't get to it. That's okay. That's normal. Again, the next one is being mindful of the background noise, whether it's you have the news on all day, you've got a podcast that you get so engaged in, you took 40 minutes to write an email kind of thing. Be conscious of what you have going on in the background, if it's a helpful background noise or if it's a distraction, and can you change it? Again, this last one is just talking about how there are a lot of different time management tools and apps that are out there. You can kind of Google through and see which ones might be a good fit for you. So this one kind of goes back toward the sleep and how it impacts our emotions. So you have a lack of sleep, which makes you tired. Then it's a little bit more difficult to cope with the day, which can impact your self-esteem, which can then impact your feelings of stress and worry, which then impacts your lack of sleep. And it just kind of keeps going. And there's a lot of places in these arrows that you can put interventions that can definitely help make a difference. One of the biggest ones, though, is being able to improve that sleep. So, like the ones we talked about earlier, really trying to increase your level of sleep and how that can help with your daily emotions. All right, this last one is important, gets its own slide. There's a ton of struggles, I think, of feeling guilty and of prioritizing ourselves in this time period. Um, there's really popular sayings of you can't pour from an empty cup. And on airplanes, you put your mask on before you put somebody else's mask on. You have to be taking care of yourself to then take care of the other people in your life. And part of what goes on here with self care is being able to increase your ability to regulate your emotions. And that's a skill. And that starts with being able to identify how you're feeling, which can sometimes be confusing. And if you might feel grumpy or irritable, but maybe underneath that, there's some worry or there's some fear. So being able to identify that emotion and then being able to make a plan for how you're going to cope with it. And being able to do that is part of self-care. And so it gets its own slide that you have to put yourself first to be able to help take care of others in your life. So this one is, sorry, I have a bunch of pop-ups, I guess. Right now, again, going through this period of maybe not having control, not feeling grounded, we have different waves of emotions that can come through. And I kind of think of it as a lava lamp where you have the like big blobs that float up and then the little blob breaks off. Um, and so you have these different emotions that kind of peak and valley that come through, and trying to suppress them or box them in or no, I'm fine usually makes them come out like a volcano sideways when a cup breaks in the sink or something that we all have. So instead trying to make space for these emotions and allowing them to happen and giving permission for this feeling to be there, that gives it more of a natural life cycle that it comes and it's going, okay, I feel lonely right now. This makes sense. This is normal. It's okay to feel lonely. I'm going to reach out to my sister. I'm going to FaceTime her. Or I'm going to call a friend I haven't talked to in a while. But you identify that emotion, you allow it to happen and say, like, yeah, that makes sense. It's okay. And then maybe you do something to address it. Um, so, like I've been saying, feeling out of control leads to these kind of waves of emotions. Um, when you have no control, and right now with this, the end game, the goalpost keeps on moving. We're not really sure when this will end. We're not sure what that's going to look like. We can't really control that, and it's incredibly challenging. So, finding new ways to adapt to this new normal. Part of that is going back to the agenda. If you can check things off a list, it gives you a little bit more of a feeling of control, productivity. Um, giving permission to allow the situation to be happening, to feel untethered, to feel off balance. That's okay. It's okay to not be okay in these moments. Just finding out ways that you can adapt to different things. Can you reach out to someone? Can you cut someone some slack that maybe upset you? Because maybe this is how they're dealing with it. Maybe they're having a wave of an emotion right now. So all of that's really important to just keep in mind of, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay that we don't have control. It's okay to not be okay. This is one of the things that I think is super important for everyone to keep in mind. Human beings, just in general, are incredibly resilient. We all have been through life experiences that have happened in our past that we can pull from to help us get through this time. And as we progress through this, each time we get a little bit more of a routine and a little bit more control and a little bit more balance, it goes into our toolbox for future hardships that we might go through in our life. Um, Nobody has had this, leave it to beaver lifestyle that we all have gone through difficult times. We've all had to overcome things. And again, nobody's experience is invalid. And we all can pull from things in our past to help us get through this and know that in the future, you're going to be stronger for it because you were able to adapt to this new normal and this new uncertain time and you were successful in it. I'm running just a little late, but it's okay. So here is a slide about different self-care ideas, and there are hundreds of self-care ideas. And one single one might not make a huge dent in how you're feeling, but if you put 5, 6, 10 of these together, you will start to notice a difference. So if you're able to find a scented candle or a scented lotion that just helps and you always feel relaxed with it, and you've got fresh sheets on your bed and you tidied up a closet or something, you've got a favorite playlist that you're going to put on, and you grab a journal or something, if you add all of those things up, they really do start to make a difference, kind of like filling a bucket. With each, kind of drop or cup that you pour into it is one of these skills, and you kind of keep adding and keep adding to it. And some of them might not work. So you might watch a movie and end up super not liking it and kind of grumpy about it. You might go for a walk and feel like that was way more stressful than had you stayed home. So you might have to try a couple different things to see what works for you, and know that one day one of these things might work and the next day it might not, and you might have to keep trying different things, and each day might be a little different. But don't be upset if you try something and it doesn't work. Don't be upset if you start to journal and you're just not feeling it. That's okay. You can try something different. So this is kind of tying everything up together. There's a couple of guided journals on there. I work with teenagers, so I would say they're sort of geared towards young adults. The content is great. The visualizations are great, but if you want to find a more mature version, there's tons out there. And on obviously some of these apps, I'll highlight that Sanbello right now, which has a mood tracker and it's got guided meditations. Their premium version is free to everyone. So that's a good one to start kind of exploring. The SAM one is specifically geared towards anxiety management and just being able to kind of find and explore in your app store any of these that seem like you would be interested or you like and you want to try. And again, same with any of these coping skills. You might try one and not like it, and that's okay. You can always try a different one. And then also we have some links to a couple articles and then the county link for some of the coronavirus updates and assistance. If anybody else wants to keep adding in, this is kind of our sum up where we're asking for a scale of 1 to 5. There's things you would want to add or end with, or additional topics you'd like to see in the future. And I think, and Kristen.
Yes, and so I just put in the chat, we, like Christine said, we're inviting you guys to give us a rating. But there were any questions. If you guys have any questions, please put them in now while we have a few minutes, about 5 minutes before we end. But there were a few comments. So one comment from Myrna: it's healthy to remove ourselves from our kids when feeling frustrated. It's important for them to know that mommy needs some alone time.
Absolutely. Take a time out for yourself, 100%.
Absolutely. And then Leonardo said, great point, cut everyone slack. That includes the adults.
Mm-hmm. Yep, cut everybody some slack. And we might have to adjust our expectations for ourselves and for the people in our lives right now. We might not expect everyone to be functioning at 100%, and we need to cut everybody some slack and adjust our expectations with that.
Absolutely. Everyone handles things differently.
Oh, and I also see Myrna added eat dessert without feeling guilty. I love that one.
Yes.
We also talk about a warm drink for helping you fall asleep. So that could be like a tea, or just a comfort drink during the day, a hot chocolate, a coffee, anything like that.
I definitely start my day with warm water as soon as I wake up. They say it's really good for your digestive system and it calms the body and gets it prepared.
Yep.
All right. Well, it looks like there's no more comments. Now everyone is rating. We have all fives here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fives. So thank you guys. We appreciate that. Giving it all to Christine. She did an amazing job.
Thank you. It was very much a team effort.
Amber she put it together with her 5. She made a comment and said, "Thank you for sharing resources. Give yourself grace and space."
Yes, absolutely. I like that sentiment.
And then Arlington County resident, someone said Dr. K is a local psychologist, so as a resource, and Georgetown professor. She's awesome.
Good to know.
Mhm. All right. Oh, that was a Washington Post article that said about Dr. K.
Okay. Does anyone have any other comments or questions? Any other topics they'd like to see?
Yes, please add that in our box. It saves the recording and also the chat, so we're able to look over those comments. So any topics you would like to see so far that we haven't covered?
Also, feel free to copy the link. There is a talk tomorrow starting at 1:30 down at the bottom of this one slide on the developing brain.
All right. Well, it looks like we are done here. Thank you everyone who tuned in and wrote comments and gave us our ratings. We truly appreciate you, and we will see you on, well, not us, but you will see someone from us this Thursday. And we